in the Disney Parks cookbook with this video, and it's something I think from California Grill inspired at the Contemporary Resort. I think we did the pork tenderloin from there, so their recipes are always a little bit more complex, but anyway, it's called grouper with Asian vegetables, sticky rice, and a ginger soy broth. And here's just like a little bit of a picture of it. So there's the tongue full of the recipe, and this is the recipe. So this is definitely a multiple step recipe. So you have the grouper, which it says to use black grouper. Note ahead, it mentions if you can't find black grouper, halibut or red snapper could be substituted. I couldn't find black grouper, and I wasn't sure if I'd really like it, so I ended up getting halibut instead. So I got halibut, and I also knew my husband would probably hate halibut, whereas I'm not sure about the other fishes, so because he's not a big seafood person. So anyway, so you have that, you've got the rice, and you got some vegetables, you kind of like toss it all together.
So the first step is I need to make the ginger broth. And what I have in my medium saucepan here is I started with some olive oil and I put in some garlic. And what I'm diced up and I'm putting in here is a jalapeno, a shallot, and some fresh ginger diced up. And as you can see, I'm kind of making a little bit of a mess of it. Anyway, I'm going to cook this till it starts to soften, which should take about 5 minutes. Now that it's cooked, I need to add in some lemongrass. And I ended up just getting the lemongrass paste because I could find that. I had a hard time finding actual fresh lemongrass, but this seemed like it worked well. Now that the lemongrass has been cooking for a few minutes, I'm adding in some chicken stock or chicken broth to this mix. Next, I'm putting in some sesame oil. This is some rice vinegar that is now going into the broth. Now I'm putting in some tamari, which is basically like soy sauce, I think, but I mean, it's just got a different label on it, but I guess, you know, there's other kinds of soy sauce going into this, which you'll see shortly. And now here is the soy sauce. It says to use a low sodium soy sauce, which I did, and I'm putting this into the broth. Next, a couple tablespoons of mirin is getting added. The next ingredient it called for was a Vietnamese fish sauce. So I had to do a little research on that because I hadn't done it. But I found this bottle here and it said it is a fish sauce that's Vietnamese apparently, so that's what I got. The last ingredient in this broth is a sweet soy sauce. So I'm going to add some of that, and then I'm going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes, stirring occasionally. Then I'm to remove it from the heat and let it sit for 40 minutes. As you can see, this is a pretty detailed broth that we put together here.
So next I'm going to make sushi rice, and I'm just going to follow the directions for preparing the sushi rice to get the rice part cooked. So this is the stir-fry sauce while the rice is cooking. I'm using more of the Vietnamese fish sauce. And the kitty wants to say hello. Rice vinegar. The sweet soy sauce. Sesame oil. Olive oil. That was garlic and some ginger. And this is a hot chili paste. A little bit of sugar. Some coarse salt. Whisk this together and then put it aside until we're ready to make the stir-fry part.
My rice vinegar is done, and what I'm doing right now is I'm adding in some rice vinegar, rice wine vinegar like it calls for, and then I'm also adding some sugar, and then finally I'll add a little bit of salt and stir it all together. Now it's time to prepare the vegetables that are going into the stir fry. So what I'm doing here, and you can see I'm halfway through cutting them, is the carrots. It says to take carrots and cut them into roughly like 2-inch matchsticks. The next vegetable, which is really a fruit in this stir fry that I'm dicing, you can see off the side here, is a papaya that I got. The vegetables in this, besides the carrot and the papaya, are a red onion, which is thinly sliced, and as well as green beans, which are trimmed into 2-inch pieces. I just bought like the pre-washed and rinsed green beans that you can get in the fresh produce section, but just cut them down a little bit. But that's all the vegetables that go into the stir fry. I don't have a clip of me putting them all together and dicing them, but that's what's going into the vegetable part. This is a very quick clip of the original soy broth that I made that had to sit for 40 minutes. It's been sitting, so I strained it back into a pan so that I would have it to warm up as I needed later for the sauce. On my stove right now, though, I am preheating some olive oil in a large skillet. In my large skillet, I am now going to place in the vegetables that I diced minus the papaya. So this is just the carrots, the green beans, and the red onion that are going to go into the skillet and let them cook for a few minutes. So a few things going on my stove. I just dumped in the stir-fry sauce that I made earlier in with the vegetables so they're cooking. This other skillet I have up here, I'm heating some olive oil in it because I'm getting ready to put the halibut into that pan. Okay, so now I'm adding the halibut to the pan. Now the halibut has been seasoned with salt and pepper, and I'm supposed to cook this in the skillet roughly about 5 minutes per side in the skillet. Once they're done on there, I'm going to transfer them to an oven that's been preheated, and I'm going to let them cook there for about 5 to 7 minutes until basically they're done. Everything is cooked, and it's now time to bring all these ingredients together on my plate. So I'm starting with the sushi rice, which I'm going to put on the bottom of the plate. Next, I'm putting the stir-fry vegetables on top, and I forgot to mention the papaya. It was added after the vegetables were cooked, like right when I took it off the heat to let it cool down for a few minutes. I stirred the papaya in and let it sit. Now I'm placing the cooked halibut on top of the rice and vegetables. Finally, I'm taking the ginger-soy broth and drizzling it over the fish and the entire plate. And here are both plates ready to be consumed.
So review time on the grouper, or in my case, the halibut dish. It was really tasty. I really did enjoy this. I thought it all blended together nicely, like the broth, the vegetables, the rice, the fish. It tasted really good. I would love to try it if they still have this on the menu at the restaurant, because I guess it's probably even better at Disney when you actually have an expert chef preparing this stuff together. But I really, really did enjoy this item. I thought it was really good. Even my husband enjoyed it, and he's not a big fish person. So it was really tasty. So let's get into the rankings. The first are the ingredients on a scale of 1 to 5, and that's a combination of how hard are these to find and cost and things like that. I'm giving it a 5. I couldn't really find black grouper. Halibut was expensive. Those little fillets each were like $15, which I just thought was insane. That's why I only made 2. It calls for 4. I only made 2 because I was like, what if we don't like it? And that's a lot of money. But there's also other ingredients that I didn't necessarily have that I had to buy. Like for example, the Vietnamese fish sauce, the rice wine vinegar. I do have that actually because I use it all the time. Some of the other things I've used, but yeah, I still had to buy some stuff that I wasn't using a lot of. So to me, that was it was a lot of cost and a lot of money involved in it. Maybe not everything's super hard to find, but it's still a lot of money. Difficulty level on a scale of 1 to 5, and that also includes time. 1 is like easy, quick. 5 is like time consuming, more complex. I'm gonna give this a 4. It was definitely a little bit more complex. It was a little bit easier than I thought it would be when I first looked at it, because this thing goes over 3 pages. I was like, oh, it's gonna be really daunting. It's gonna remind me of the tenderloin, which was very time consuming with the different glazes, and it's wild, took things. It wasn't as hard as the pork tenderloin. If you haven't found that video in this playlist, please look for it, the grilled pork tenderloin, because it was a step and process involved. So it didn't take as much as I thought it would, but it's still multiple steps involved. So that's why I'm going to give it a 4. And then would I make this again on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 is never, and 5 is absolutely. So here's the thing. I really liked it. I thought it was really good, but it is kind of a little bit longer of a time consuming thing. The ingredients are kind of expensive. So to me, I'm like a neutral 3 in that, like, maybe I'll save it for a special occasion and whip it out once every few years or something like that. But I can't guarantee I'd make it again, or especially all the time, just because of the cost and the time consumed that goes into it. Now, I do have some of these ingredients now, like that Vietnamese fish sauce and the mirin and things like that. So I'm like, I'm trying to find other uses for it. But yeah, so I'm on the fence about making it again someday, but I definitely would consider it. But yeah, it was actually quite delicious, and I'm glad I at least made it once.